Next, I'm going to tell a story about I'm going to tell a story about an alien named Bolo. There was an alien named Bolo that everybody wanted to follow. He was blue, and his eyes were piercing green. Bolo was a curious fellow. Some days he'd be happy, some days quite mellow. But all of the other aliens felt a compulsion to follow him around wherever he went and do whatever he did. Bolo was unaware of the others, for he was just a happy young alien with his piercing green eyes and his blue skin, going about her business. Bolo wanted more from life, but he didn't quite know what. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. So Bolo decided that he was to become the very first dancer on the alien planet. You see, dancing is prohibited on this particular alien planet, Ragnar 4. And if you were even to move your feet in the rhythm that might be construed as a dance, they would cut your feet off and you would never be allowed to walk again. And that would be very inconvenient for a planet that is mostly pedestrian access, which Ragnar 4 was. Now, Bolo knew that he would have to dance in secret, but of course all of the other aliens kept following him. This would make it very difficult to learn dance moves. For if any of the followers caught him, he would surely be reported, and his feet would be severed at the ankle. Oh dear, thought Bolo, I must come up with a plan. Now, there are many ways to hide, but there are very few ways to hide and also be able to commit yourself to, like, tap dancing, because it's loud. So he thought, I'm going to have to dig myself a great big tunnel, and in that tunnel, I shall practice and perform. He began to dig, first with his hands, and realized this would not make quick work. But what about the followers? Perhaps he could use them and trick them in some way to digging him this tunnel, seeing as they all seemed to follow and copy what he did. Hello there, followers! You there! I see you following me! May I be permitted to make use of your hands? No, not in a weird way. You see, I've left some important possessions under this ground. What do you mean, under the ground? What possessions, Bolo? You left your possessions under the ground. Should I leave my possessions under the ground? No, don't put your own possessions under the ground. Just try and help me dig up mine. Okay. And sure enough, a few of his followers helped dig the ground, unbeknownst to them, helping him achieve a tunnel so that he could commit to his tap dancing practice in secret. Now, many hands make light work of difficult jobs. That was the beauty of his plan. He was using his own followers to help him. And at night time, he would come to inspect on their progress and see how deep the hole had become and whether or not it was suitable for, a tango or something. How are you guys getting on? Oh, we're doing all right, Bolo. I mean, I must be honest, my wife and kids are probably missing me. Yeah, don't worry about them. Just keep digging my damn hole, okay? I didn't ask for feedback. All right then, sorry. Bolo had not been particularly kind to his followers. He may resent that later in the story, but we will see. And once the hole was sufficiently deep, he told them all to go home. All right, you're done now. Oh, right. Oh, God, it's been days. I can't wait to eat again. Yeah, all right, I just said leave. and his followers pottered off back to their families. And Bolo looked down and saw that he had the greatest cave with which he could frolic and dance. Now, as long as nobody ever found out, his feet and his ankles would be safe, and he could continue to walk. He started that very weekend. First with his left foot, and then with his right foot, and then with his ninth foot. You see, these aliens were three-legged, and the ninth foot is a foot that goes between the two of them. Now, tap dancing is difficult, even for a biped. Imagine for a triped. That would mess with your head, because it would be almost like a 3 times harder, but 1.5 times harder. You know, you can do the maths. Left, right, he would make stamping and clomping around, all night, all day long. You can hear him dance. Clomping around, creating minor tremors on the planet's surface of Ragnar 4. The lizards would scurry around, listening to the vibrations of his sound. What lurks beneath, they wondered. But they didn't wonder for very long because they were lizards and were not capable of memorizing things. By day 7, Bolo was sufficiently convinced that he was a great dancer. But the problem with dancing is, what's the point of being a good dancer if no one's there to see you and tell you how good you are at things? Such was Bolo's need for validation that he decided he would have to exemplify and show off his dancing to his fellow aliens. But of course, dancing was forbidden on planet Ragnar 4, else they'll cut off your feet, and he really didn't want that. So perhaps he came up with a plan. Maybe he could appear as a different form of alien, or travel to distant planets and show off his dancing there, where he would be acceptable and not socially rejected. This was a good plan, thought Bolo, but obviously to do that he would require space travel. So he got some space travel. It turns out it was really easy to find the space travel on Ragnar 4. They have a lot of space travel, despite mostly walking around everywhere. They're really good with transport. Anyway, and so he would travel the galaxy to the nearest stars in his solar system. Even though his solar system is made of stars, to the nearest planets to start with. He didn't get too ahead of himself. And as he visited the planets, he would host great concerts and he would call himself Bolo the Boy Wonder. Kind of like Batman and Robin. He kind of stole that because he'd read about it once. Oh yeah, he had those genes. He had them all. The first planet he danced on was the planet of Miriam. Miriam was almost like a Renaissance planet. People would formally dress up in beautiful ornate clothes, and they would prance about to structured 4/4 rhythms. This suited Bolo, for it was a nice, easy way to break his way into the dancing world, and he would prance about with all of the denizens of Miriam. Oh! That is terrific dancing, fellow. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I practice a lot. Oh, I mean, just take the compliment. And all of the other denizens of Miriam would praise him and give him gifts like wine and cheese. Now, Bolo didn't have the stomach for either of these. He would often become slightly gassy and realize he would have to visit another planet. What's the name of the next planet he visited? The next was the planet Duck. Now, Duck was a very different planet to Miriam. The people in the planet of Duck were not nearly as pretentious, nor had quite the same appetite for vino and fromage. And the people on the planet of Duck dance to a music they like to call quack. This rhythm was much trickier for Bolo to dance. None of his tap dancing lessons had prepared him for such a racy and exciting rhythm, but he could feel it vibrate through his bones. I'm sure you can all relate to that at some point in your life, where you feel the vibrations. He didn't know if he could dance with the other Quaxians on the planet of Duck. He got a bit nervous for the first time. Exactly. Somebody else is an aficionado of Quack's music. But unfortunately, he didn't have you to help him, so he had to try and master the tricky steps with his own tripedal feet. Left, right, nigh left, nigh right, nigh. Oh God, I feel like I'm going to embarrass myself in front of the Quaxians. You see, Bolo had become quite self-conscious. Despite his first performance at Miriam going over so swimmingly, no pun intended, Planet Duck, he was really worried that the people of Planet Duck would be, somewhat judgmental, because some people can be like that. I know, I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with them. Anyway, he sidled up to one of the Quaxians and asked if maybe he could give him some pointers. Hello, my name's Bolo. I'm from a planet. Don't worry which planet. It's not Ragnar 4 where they cut your feet off for dancing. It's definitely not that one. It's one of the other ones. Oh, okay. I didn't assume that. All right. Anyway, I mainly came over to ask you if you could help me learn this really finicky dance that you do. I don't think it's finicky. Well, I wasn't judging the dance. I'm just saying I'd like some help. Okay, well, just start out with that then. Just be direct. People on Planet Quacks are always quite direct. We don't find it rude. Oh, well, that's a cultural difference between us. We'll get over it. Anyway, are you going to help me or not? Well, okay. The thing is, to dance the Quaxian dance on Planet Duck, first things first, you need to feel it in your bill. Now, I don't have a bill. No, I know that. So you're going to have to make one up. Here. And with that, the kind denizen of Planet Duck fashioned him a bill for him to wear. It went over his nose and mouth, and it flapped up and down as he danced. Oh, this is bizarre. I think I'm getting the hang of it. Yeah, you're doing great, pal. And you could hear his bill slapping up and down as he danced the Quaxian dance of Planet Duck. Wow, you're picking it up like a natural. And all of the people on Planet Duck decided that this newcomer, who barely fit the bill, who barely fit the bill that he was wearing, was to be recognized as a hero. And they all flocked around him and used to give him compliments like, wow, your eyes are cool, and you're a great guy. He got these written up, and he wrote them down on a piece of paper just so that if Bolo ever felt sad again, he could look back on the kind people of Planet Duck. But alas, he had to leave them, and they would cry and wail out, for they loved Bolo in a way, even though they'd just met him. But, he was that sort of guy. Where was Bolo going to go next? His dancing tour of the universe couldn't stop at 2 planets, so he went for 3. Because that was one more than 2. The next planet he went to was the planet Ferengar. Now, the planet Ferengar is mostly a gas giant, so it doesn't have any you know, if you've got corporeal form, it's going to be real difficult to stand, let alone dance on it, because, you know, there's gravity wells and there's storms. But that didn't stop Bolo, because he was an adventurous fellow. And he knew that in his quest to conquer the world of dance through the medium of dance, much like the Lord of the Dance, he was going to have to go to the planet Ferengar, despite the fact it was a gas giant. Now, the planet of Ferengar had these bird-like creatures by the name of Uvas. And the Uvas would flap their great wings and soar about the planet's gaseous storms, along to a sound that they called the whistle blow. It was quite a somber... Oh, it hasn't worked. It was quite a somber dance. Let me do that again. And all of the uvas would flap their wings and soar to the sounds of the whistle blow. Now, this was going to be Bolo's hardest challenge, because he didn't have any wings and he can't fly. You know, it's going to be real hard. He mostly had legs. Well, he did have legs. Only legs. And arms, obviously, for holding things. How was a creature who supported itself with legs going to dance on a gas giant? That was one of the storms. On a gas giant using his legs. And he thought, I'm stumped. I can't do it. I'm gonna have to go home. And his dancing days would be over, because they would cut off his ankles. But Bolo was an ingenious fellow, and he remembered a documentary he'd seen once on British broadcasting. And this documentary was about these things on a planet called Earth named helicopters. Now, Bolo had never seen a real helicopter, but he knew roughly the principle of how they worked. That three things would rotate, and they would rotate in such a manner that they would propel the object off the ground using downforce. Now, Bolo didn't understand the science of it, you know, it's complicated. But he did understand the principle, and in life, that's often all you need. And he began to spin his legs in a helicopter motion. And as though they were galloping on air, he started to fly up into the sky. And with them he joined the Uas, flying around.
How's he doing that?
They sounded a bit like the people from Planet Duck. It was a similar dialect.
That's so impressive. He doesn't even have wings.
And true enough, he did not have wings. And yet he did it anyway, because he persevered. Of course, the people on that planet weren't as impressed, because, you know, the dance was mostly to do with flapping, and just spinning your legs around is not the same. You know, it's not the same. And they told him that, and they made sure he knew. They were going,
"Why, that's not the same! That is not the same dance! That is offensive mildly to our culture."
And he apologized, as he did, because, you know, he's a good man. He doesn't want to upset anyone. Nobody does. But, yeah, and he said sorry, and he left. But he still tried, and that's what's important, is that, you know, sometimes people don't like stuff, but you try. You know, you try, and you make an effort. And that's what's important about the alien Bolo.
That's the end of the story. No, it is not the end of the story, because he knew that he would not be able to give up dancing now. Now, whilst he was put off from dancing on gas giant planets that involve wings, being that he doesn't have any wings, he did believe that he would not be able to stop dancing when he returned home. Now, this is a big problem, because you know, on the planet of Ragnar, they cut off your feet if you dance. Thank you for paying attention. And this was a big obstacle to somebody who loves to dance. Now, the people on the planet of Ragnar had missed Bolo, for they used to follow him around, and they wished that he'd come back someday. Oh, Christ. I wonder where Bolo's gone. He's been gone for such a long time now. I wonder what he did in that cave that we helped build with our hands and ignored our families. Yeah, I try not to think about it too much, if I'm honest, mate. Because it was a lot of time that we spent and he never paid us. In retrospect, I feel a bit annoyed that my wife has been upset with me for some time now. Yeah, no, for me too. It's, of course, unknown difficulties. But where did Bolo go? Golden night. And so Bolo knew that when he returned to Ragnar, he'd have to stop his dancing, but he could not, because he'd had a taste. He'd had a taste of being validated for something that he loved. And, you know, some people want that. Some people want that in life. Some people need that. And Bolo was one of those people. And so as he slowly made his return back to Ragnar, he thought he would put on the greatest concert that they'd ever seen. And that he would change people's minds. He would change their minds about dancing, and they'd learn from him, and they'd go, you know what, it's cool. You know what, we shouldn't be cutting people's feet off. Dancing is fun, it's an expression of joy and happiness. And nobody should be, you know, punished for that. That's ridiculous, especially not with severing their own feet at the ankle. It's barbaric, and we need to change as a society. Bolo was a bit of an idealist, if I'm honest, you know. And so he returned back that fateful day. It was Wednesday. It was a Wednesday day. And all his followers flocked around. Oh, it's Bolo! Hey, Bolo! Hi, you all right, Bolo? Hey, how you doing? How's that hole treating you? I haven't actually been in the hole. I left the planet. Oh, okay. Vacation? Summer holidays? No, not quite. I left to do, and suddenly Bolo felt a wave of embarrassment that he had left the planet in order to pursue something he loved, which is terrible, you know. You should be proud, but he wasn't. He was nervous and shy. I was learning to bake. Oh, right, lovely. Everybody loves baking. That's not forbidden on this planet, nor does it serve or have attributed any punishments of any kind. Yes, I know, good, just normal, good old baking. And Bolo thought, I can't tell them. What if they chop my feet off? I feel embarrassed, I feel a little bit nervous. You know, I just lied about baking. I don't like lying. I want to tell them that I like dancing, and I went around the world dancing. But he couldn't do it. Could not do it, because he was shy about it now. But it just so happened, on that Wednesday, there was a great big festival to be held on the planet Ragnar. And this festival was the festival of the bow. Now, on the Festival of the Bow, every single denizen of the planet Ragnar would take out pieces of their hair, tie them together, and create a great big bow with which they would play all of the thin trees. Now, the thin trees were made out of a sturdy polycarbonate material, and they would make a beautiful sound as the bow was drawn across them. It's a beautiful sound. Now, Bolo had always been a fan of the Festival of the Bows and the sounds that they were making. And he loved the funky rhythms that people would tap their feet to. But they wasn't dancing. They weren't dancing. Bolo stood with his other compatriots of Ragnar as they drew the great big hair-created bow across the trees of the landscape, scraping across all of them, making this heavenly sound. And suddenly he felt a compulsion that he knew all too well. It was a compulsion to dance. And he started to feel his nigh foot tapping, the one in between the left and the right foot. And he was like, don't tap, come on, don't do it rhythmically. You can tap, but just not rhythmically, otherwise they'll count it as dancing, and you'll have to be cut off. But he couldn't help himself, because Bolo, he was slightly impulsive. I mean, that's why he went to 3 different planets just to try out dancing. He was a crazy guy, And he would start to tap it, knowing full well the risks, but he just couldn't stop his body because he'd been conditioned to dance now. It started out very quietly, and none of the other people had noticed. And yet slowly, one by one, now they all started staring. What are you doing, Bolo? You're not tapping your feet, are you? No, I'm not. It's my foot's itchy. I think I stepped on something sharp. I'm just trying to get it off. You know, like I've got something on my foot. Maybe it's like an animal dropping. And he would try and rub his foot surreptitiously to disguise his forbidden dancing. He tried to make it more of like a brush sound to make it look like he was wiping his foot of excrement. Now, but he couldn't help but make it too rhythmic. And they thought, hold on, if you were wiping your feet, you just look up, you know, you'd put you get your little foot up, and then you just try and like wipe it off. Or you'd use like a cloth or something. I'm not buying this, Bolo. I think you're dancing. I'm not dancing. I'm not dancing. They didn't believe him. And as they began to look and stare, he felt the audience and the pressure of having a captive audience, and that spurned him on. It spurned him on. It spurned him on so bad, because he thought about all of those people on the planet Miriam and all the cheese and wine they gave him, and he thought about all of the Quaxians on the planet Duck and all of the compliments they gave him, and he thought about all the people on the other planet, and he tried to forget them because they weren't very nice. But he thought about those people, and he thought, oh God, it worked before. People were happy before. Maybe, just maybe, I can convince them that dancing is cool. And he's with that, his other 2 feet, the left and the right foot, as well as the nigh foot, began to pound the ground. Now, and everyone had begun to stare and cheer. Woo! Woo! Bolo! Woo! My man, he's doing it. And they were all cheering him on, and he was pounding and he was grooving, and he was like, "This is the greatest moment of my life. I've always wanted to pound my feet in time to music and on my own planet in front of my own people." And he wept. He wept many tears because he was an emotionally vulnerable person, you know, and it's a nice thing about him, I guess. And he was crying, you know, tears flooding down his face. Oh, I just love dancing. And he was jiggering, he was jiving, he was grooving, he was moving, he was smoothing. And everybody was staring at him. What he is crazy. He wiped the tears from his face, and he realized everyone had actually stopped. They were staring at him. They were staring at him in disgust. Dancing is forbidden. Dancing is forbidden! That's what they were shouting at him. Dancing is forbidden! It's forbidden! Oh, shit. Oh, God, this is awkward. This is really awkward. Oh, God. I wasn't dancing. We know you were dancing! It's forbidden! That is illegal! Oh, God, they know. They definitely know. I was clearly dancing. And he realized that the people weren't happy with him at all. He was imagining that. He thought that in his head. He was like, oh, it's fine, but it's not. He was just lost in his own world. He'd gone off on one. Foolish. I'd like to tell you that the people of Ragnar had pity on him. But they didn't. They didn't have any pity for him. They were pissed. They were pissed. They grabbed Bolo and they dragged him to the center of town. They dragged him by his ankles and they were like, "You were fucked up. You were now. You were dancing. Dancing is illegal. Illegal on this planet. It's illegal for a reason. People have been killed dancing. Did you think about that before you did it? You thought about yourself, Bolo. You thought about yourself because you're selfish. You made us dig a hole for you just so you could practice your illegal activities. That is disgusting. It's disgusting and it's wrong." "I'm really sorry. I love to dance." It wasn't all right. That's not all right. It's not about what you love. It's about community. It's about respect, Bolo. It's about having respect for people, having respect for our society and our rules, and we don't make them up for no reason, Bolo. We have them for a reason. The reason is that it's dangerous to dance on this planet. It's dangerous. There's been an earthquake. People have died, Bolo. You idiot. "I'm really, really sorry. I like the music and I wanted to dance my feet to it." That's not an acceptable excuse. "I'm so upset with you." And that's what they all said. They all filed into a queue and they all stood in front of him and said, "I'm so upset with you." And some of them were crying, some of them were screaming, some of them, oh God, they threw things. They just like got rotten fruits from their house and just pelted them at him. And he was crying. It was brutal. It was horrible. You know, I get that he broke the law, but like it's too much. All he did was dance, you know. Yeah, sure, he was, a bit self-involved, but, I guess the moment took to him. That was the story of Bolo, the alien dancer. He was killed. Did you think it was going to have a happy ending? I bet you did. I bet you thought, oh, it's going to have a really cheery ending. They're all going to decide that dancing's okay now. They didn't do that. They did the opposite of that. That's what Bolo thought as well, idiot. Yeah, they didn't do that. It was the complete opposite of that. They got really upset. Because sometimes in life there are rules, and sometimes in life, even if you don't agree with them, you know, people will punish you for violating them. And that's really what the story was about. It's about being punished. Yeah, I bet you did. Honestly, if I'm honest with you, I did. I thought it was going to have a happy ending. I was like, oh, and then they all danced, and they all held hands, and they all went off the galaxy dancing together. No. They were actually stricter on dancing since then. They cut Bolo's feet off, you know, first, obviously, before they... Well, I mean, I say they killed him. He killed himself. With no feet, he couldn't dance anymore, and he was just a wreck of a man. People were really horrible to him every time they'd see him. Because the thing is, once they cut your feet off, everybody knows what you did. And obviously, because everyone's so against dancing, it becomes a real, you know, it's a real stigmatism to have in a society where everyone hates dancing to lose your feet. You know, because then they're like, oh, he danced. Did he? Okay, have you seen his feet? Have you seen his feet? He danced. I hate you. And then they just like spit at him. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Never go to Ragnar and Ragnar 4 and dance. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway, we're going to tell another story now.